Greetings, and welcome to the Thirsty Mage. Tonight we're hiding in the back of the Celadon City Game Corner since it's likely the only place in Kanto where you're allowed to actually have a pint. Our topic for tonight's discussion is Pokémon Let's Go. We'll discuss its strengths and its shortfalls, and we'll all provide our overall opinions of the first Pokémon game on the Switch. But first, let's take a look at the panel. I am your host, David Lloyd, and joining us for the first time is the self-proclaimed champion of Kanto, Adam Abou-Nasr, who has humiliated his rival David, no relation, time and time again.
Oh, it's Abou-Nasr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I don't know your name.
Adam Abou-Nasr.
Sure. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
I'm Canadian.
Very good.
I really don't know what you're talking about.
This is what happens when all of us are drinking.
Adam, you need to say hi, because David introduced you.
Hi, my name is Adam Abou-Nasr. It always has been.
And broadcasting from a place that has a whole lot less snow than I currently have, Thirsty Mage regular Mr. Jordan Rudek.
Hi, David, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. And finally, owner and reviews editor of Nintendo World Report, and Pokemon Whisperer, Mr. Neal Ronaghan.
Wait, what am I whispering to Pokemon? Is it like Sweet Nothings? Is it like the launch codes? I just...
Might depend on the Pokemon.
Yeah. What Pokemon would you want? What Pokemon would you trust to know the nuclear launch codes?
Snorlax?
That's not a bad one. Is he sleeping all the time? Yeah.
That's
that might be
good.
the answer.
I don't know, I feel like most Pokemon aren't chill, and you need to have a chill, leveled out Pokemon, so maybe Snorlax is the answer.
Certainly not Jigglypuff.
Yeah, Jigglypuff I feel would get temperamental.
Well, as the Thirsty Mage newbie, Adam, would you like to kick us off with what you'll be drinking at the pub tonight?
Oh, I'm drinking a Guinness. It says on it that it's from Dublin. Is that in Canada? Is that near you?
It's close. It's a swim.
I don't know Adam well enough to know if he's joking about that or not.
I'm always joking.
I would have guessed that. Yeah.
I don't even like video games. I joined this site as a joke.
It's a pretty good joke. It's a very long con. I respect it.
I mean, I've worn a mustache for years. You gotta commit to the bit.
Yeah, that you've stayed in character so long is impressive.
Thank you.
Well, I'm drinking an actual Canadian beer, Quebec's finest, La Fin du Monde.
Oh, dude, that's a good one. That's a damn good beer.
Mildly hoppy, but it's fantastic. It's a little bit like drinking wine though, because it's a hearty 9%, but it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. In my younger days, Le Fin du Monde, I would have Le Fin du Monde binges where that would be the beer that I would drink. I cannot withstand 9% with regularity anymore.
Wait, okay, so you guys can say that, but you can't say my name?
Well, this is French.
Oh, I see.
I took French classes.
Now, Adam,
in high
if you want to
school.
change your name to something French, it'll be a lot easier the next time you're on the podcast.
Adam Le Fin du Monde. Anyway, I'm drinking a mop water. It's from Cape May Brewing in Cape May, New Jersey, which is south of me. I'll read from the can, the profile. Cape May Brewing Company's chief mop man mandated a beer brewed with cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, allspice, and an S-load of real vanilla. I think that means shitload. Combining these spices with the flavors of German malts creates a brown ale perfect for cool autumn evenings and bitter winter nights. It's a damn good beer. It's top tier. One of the best new beers I've had in a long time.
Certainly sounds like a winter brew.
Yeah, it does have it's got that it has the warmness of a Belgian ale, but then has a little bit of because it has the different spice, the cinnamon and nutmeg and stuff, and that it gives it a very nice cozy taste to it.
I'm on brand this week in two ways. So Casey's not here, so I have to be the designated driver again. I'm drinking root beer from A&W.
It's a good root beer,
and that's it is, and it's also caffeine free. That's good for me. So I'm on brand because I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm also on brand because we're doing Pokemon, so I'm drinking something, kind of kid-friendly root beer, right? So perfect for a baby's first RPG. I'm drinking baby's first beer, root beer.
Well, technically, I think this is the first Thirsty Mage episode where everyone that's actually at the pub is drinking in one form or another, some form of beer.
We did it. It took us a few episodes this season.
13, 14 episodes, but we got there.
Yeah.
I do have to warn you all, I literally never drink, so I might get feisty and yell
I look
about
forward to
Pokemon.
It's going to make for a good episode, Adam, so that's all good, man.
Especially when we got a 50-50 viewpoint of what we think of Pokemon Let's Go.
Yeah, I think Neal's half-half, and David and I are both full to the positive side.
Yeah, I'm not fully on the dark side.
Well, before we give an overall, well, should we start with overall opinions of? I know for me, even though I'm the old guy in staff and very traditionalist when it comes to games, I'm a big fan of Pokemon Let's Go. The way I look at it is they took what was best about Pokemon Yellow and added a lot of modernization and some quality of life improvements, all of which I've agreed with and happy to play with, and I just think it's the best version of maybe the best Pokemon game. So maybe we'll kick it to Jordan, since his opinion I don't think is too far off from mine.
Yeah, so I think David, this is the first Pokemon game you've played, or you'd played other ones before this?
No, I played them all.
Okay. Yeah, so I've played them all as well, except for some of the spin-offs and some of the third versions I haven't played. But I played Pokemon Sun and Moon. Really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed Pokemon Let's Go. I went into it kind of, being excited, but, a little bit cautiously optimistic as well. I was on the side of, happy to be not having to get into random battles anymore. We play a lot of RPGs. We talk about them on the podcast. I think random battles are, if there's too many of them, it really disrupts the flow, and you're wanting to get from one place to another, and the random battles can really get in the way. So I like that they've taken them out. I'd like to see that possibly even in the Gen 8 Pokemon game that might be coming next year, or if they want to do more Let's Go games, whatever, fine. But I liked the catching. I liked the fact that there wasn't random battles anymore. I could go into a grassy area and I could see what I was going to encounter, what I was going to try to capture. I really liked the game. I kind of blazed through it because I was trying to finish it before we hopped on the podcast here. And I'm well into the post game now. Put in about 25 hours or so. It was a game. It was very hard for me to put this game down. And when I feel like that, I know it's definitely going to be one of my favorite games I played this year. What about two of the, or one of the dissenters, Neal? Or I'm calling you a dissenter, Neal, but you're not. I know, but
I mean, my thing with it is that I pretty much agree with everything that you said. I think my play clock is somewhere around 13 hours. I'm not done it yet. I'm near the end of the game corner. So, I mean, I probably still have another 10 hours left of getting through the rest of the main game. I've been kind of taking my time with it, spending a lot of time getting some catch streaks, trying to get some rare Pokemon. But I think a lot of my issues stem from the fact that I think there's a lot of really brilliant modernizations of Pokemon, but it's still mired so much in old stuff, which I understand with it being a remake of Yellow, that you can't completely reinvent the wheel without making it feel unfamiliar to what it's remaking. But I look at something like the Pokemon catching in Pokemon Let's Go, which I mean, it's weird because it's different than Pokemon Go, but it's not at the same time. There's kind of a different rhythm and flow to it, but I like the way that it's set up and that it kind of encourages you to catch multiples of Pokemon in a way that Pokemon Go did, and something that I never really enjoyed doing or ever did in previous Pokemon games. And I think the fact that Pokemon are in the overworld, you can get those chains of catches of the same Pokemon that give you XP bonuses and the potential to see rare Pokemon. And you can catch legendaries in the wild in this game if you do your catch combos right, which is kind of neat and crazy and game breaking. But with all that I think is really cool and a great step in the right direction, the trainer battles, especially when you have a run of the game that is just trainer battles. I look to SSN as like the kind of emblematic example of my issues with this game. SSN is so boring. It's just straight corridors, boring fights, like not evolved at all from what it was 20 years ago. And I think that would have been better if they could have evolved that more, because I think that there's a lot of things that they did in this game that were evolved, that were cool, but they didn't go the full way with that. So, I mean, we're far off from talking about this without coming to any general conclusions, but like I look at this game as I look at something like Solo or Rogue One, or if I saw the Fantastic Beasts movies, probably how I would feel about them in relation to my enjoyment of Harry Potter, in that this isn't a core Pokemon game, just like Solo isn't a core Star Wars movie, but I enjoyed Solo for what it was because I wanted to spend time in that world. It was cute seeing some aspects of Solo, just like it's cute seeing some aspects of Let's Go. I think that Let's Go is a flawed game that happens to be a game that I enjoy very much. And I could say a lot more, but Adam, take the wind out of my sails.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about Let's Go. And I have like this inner like turmoil, like I'm grappling, trying to sort through all these feelings. I, at times, loved the game. But my favorite 3DS game, I think, is Pokemon Rumble Blast. I think my favorite DS game is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. Like, I have been critical of Pokemon games, but at the end of the day, I am a Pokemon slut. I play Pokemon Go like literally all day, every day at school and when I'm driving.
Yeah, I hope not.
In my room.
Don't play while you're driving.
I have a Pokemon Go Plus. I can do whatever I want.
Do you have a Pokeball Plus?
No, I don't, Neal. You tried to sell me one. I think this game reminded me of things that I love a lot, which is my big problem with this game. My big problem, it isn't the experience I remember, and I don't know that it would have the same impact for someone who is now the age I was when I first played Pokemon. I think it's missing a lot of the wonder and sort of the sense of freedom. This was my first RPG, my first real like story game. Before that, it was like Disney platformers and Donkey Kong. So this is the first time that I ever went out on an adventure, and I don't know if this recaptures that.
So in your review, you called out that point about how like the sense of wonder and freedom is kind of gone from this game compared to, you know, Red, Blue, and Yellow back in the day. And I think I kind of 100% agree with you. And I understand that games in general have gotten a little more hand-holdy over time, but I don't think they necessarily have to, even if they're meant for children. Like, I think, too, my 10-year-old niece is really into this horse game called Star Stable that has, like, some intuitive quests. Like, we were, like, trying to, like, troubleshoot this, playing with her, like, racking our brains. And then I saw her just, like, go and Google it, and then, like, found out the answer to her problem of the game being unclear. And I think you can make it so, like, a game like Pokemon Red and Blue, which was a game that I definitely, like, you know, read Nintendo Power tips and, like, talked to friends on the playground about. Like, maybe some elements of those aren't necessarily the same as they were today, but there's still a way for kids, if they do get stuck on something that might not be as clear when you're given a lot of options, and maybe the critical path isn't directly evident to you, there's other ways for them to find out. And I don't think you necessarily need to dumb down a game and make it hand-holdy in order to make it appeal to more people, because I think that I played Pokemon Red and Blue when I was 10 years old, just like how old my niece is right now. And I'm curious, she might be getting Pokemon Let's Go for Christmas. I will be curious to see how she reacts to that game, because I don't think she will be as passionate about it as I was with Red and Blue when I was younger.
Adam, if you don't mind, I just want to jump in about the connection to Red, Blue, and Yellow, because recapturing the wonder of those games is, I don't know, I think that's an impossible task. You know, you're talking about
it's
something...
It's not. They did it before.
Have they? Like, I don't know. I have the nostalgia and affinity for Red, Blue, and Yellow that I've never felt that for any of the other games in the series. Like for me,
Fire Red and Leaf
but they're
Green.
the same. They're the
last
same.
time
Fire
they
Red
made
and
this
Leaf Green
game,
game.
and they didn't
real
make me
good
feel
remakes.
the same way I felt when I first played Blue. When all my friends in grade 7 we were all playing that game, and then moving into high school, like those kind of feelings that came about. Almost the same kind of growth that's happening when you're that young. Like I don't know. I don't know that we can have that again. I don't think it's fair to say, because Let's Go doesn't do the same things or doesn't make us feel the way we felt with Red, Blue, and Yellow, it's not as good a game. I think that's unfair criticism.
The other part is, like, we all played this, like, I was obviously older when I played it compared to you guys, but...
Were you like 35? Did you have 3 kids then?
Like 14, 15, I guess.
Close enough.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like, to compare what I was into then to now, like, it's I don't see how you can compare it. Like, I understand the game has been remade before, and maybe when you played, the remake on GBA or whatever, you had that same feeling. But it wasn't that, like, the gap from Red and Blue to the GBA version wasn't as far as it is now.
No, it's not that I had that same feeling again. It's that I don't know that young people will ever have that feeling from this game. Like, I had that feeling a lot of times. I had it with the Mega Man Battle Network series. I had it with Pokemon Black and White. I had it with Little Battler's Experience. Like,
That was an underrated game.
Yeah, sometimes that just pops up where you feel this world and you're in it and you can go explore. And in this game...
I had that with Hyper Light Drifter like 3 months ago.
Yeah, it happens at times in your life. But with this game, I felt more like I was the rival. Every time you run into the rival is like, oh, I'm going to do this thing that the main character from Red and Blue did. Do you want to come with me? And he's really nice. And there's some spoiler stuff I'm going to talk about with him later. But it feels almost like flipped on its head. Like you are the asshole who stops him at every turn while he is trying to stop Team Rocket and save the world. And you just like destroy his team. And you're like, all right, good luck. I'm going to go continue on my Pokemon journey.
Well, you know what? Maybe, and that's... On one hand, it's kind of charming to see like how slavish they were to the structure of Yellow. On the other hand, like, it's been almost 20 years since Yellow. Did we have to be that slavish to that structure?
Well, I think part of it too is the modernization of competitiveness. Like, when you look at the way Yellow was played, like, there was this very, me versus the other guy, who's going to be best, where I see that they've changed it in Let's Go to more of compatriot. Like, they're rivals, but they're not competing with each other. They're, like, to call them rivals is almost like not a fair presentation of what the relationship really is. They're not really rivals.
It mirrors almost identically what they did with the rival and Sun and Moon, where like it is more like it's your friend who, like, maybe there's a playful rivalry, which is why they fight every now and then. And there's actually, I think it's from a GameSpot interview a couple months ago, where Junichi Masuda, the director of this game, and I think he said something about how this might be his last director role.
Yeah, I read something about that too, Neal.
But he had a quote like explaining why the rival's nice, which just basically amounts to being like, I think bullies suck.
Yeah, I saw that.
Let's make the rivals nicer in the modern games, because like we should all be friends, which is like something that, like, I think it's kind of a nice thought, but it also makes these games doesn't really give them like a driving enemy as much outside of like the cartoon mobsters.
I don't know. I named my rival David, and I have to say, David, you suck. You're boring. You're too nice. Not you, David, but I'm speaking to my rival.
He's listening. He subscribes. He's gonna leave us a review on iTunes.
Oh gosh, he's not old enough to listen to our show.
He's not there to be a rival. He's just there to make you feel better.
And to hold your hand and drag you to the next plot point.
But so part of my thing with this game is that, like, I can totally tear it apart. Like, I think this game has flaws that I probably have missed some so far. one of them is that like there's kind of, and this is something that honestly does not bother me at all, but I just note it by like looking to see what the discussion is about Pokemon Let's Go, which there is a pretty good reason why this game is not compatible with Pokemon Bank, and that's because like any element of competitive Pokemon is completely blown apart by how stats and level increases are handled, because you can completely you can use the candy that you get from churning up Pokemon to basically just like break the game, which is on one hand really awesome and fun, because you can do like super stupid stuff like take a level 15 Pidgey, pump it full of candy, and have it like slay level 60s. Like that's kind of bad, but at the same time that's really fun. I love the idea that I can take a Pokemon that is generally like functionally irrelevant by the end of the game and use candy and the other ways to manipulate your characters leveling up in this game and just make them a powerhouse.
But
like,
why?
I had a coworker. No. I had a coworker who said like how he was excited because he likes Jinx as a Pokemon, which I don't know what that says about him liking a blatant racist caricature. I hope. Sorry, Dan, if you're listening to this. But he made a comment to me about how like usually Jinx has terrible defense, but now I can actually use her in my party because I can just use a bunch of defensive candy and make her functional. Which, like, I think that's kind of neat and fun. Yeah, it's just like it makes Pokemon, which has developed into a lot more of a competitive scene. Like there are world championships for Pokemon. It kind of takes it and just like, I don't know, like, is this like socialized Pokemon? Is that what Pokemon Let's Go is? Because that's kind of what it feels, where it's just like what happens when nobody's special.
So I like the move. I like the move away from competitive battling, because for me that was one of the things that was kind of making me lose interest in the series. Was, you know, I was interested in it, maybe starting with like X and Y or something. I wanted to make a team that was competitive, but trying to do EV training and IV and finding Pokemon with perfect or suitable IVs, and then doing like the battle tower to get the best held items and getting all the TMs and stuff. Like, it's so cumbersome. It's such a time sink to do all that. And like, when I was younger, I may have had the time to do that, but I don't now. So to me, like, Pokemon is a game where I'm going to go in, I'm going to explore the world, I'm going to finish the story, I'm going to complete the Pokedex, and then to me, I'm done with the game. And I'm happy to have done that. Like, to me, that's I kind of get that feeling of accomplishment. Like, oh, I caught all the Pokemon. Like, okay, Pokedex is complete. That's great. Now I can move on to the next game. And starting with Sun and Moon, like, I did that. I got the full Sun Moon Pokedex, and then I was done with that game. And that was great. 30, 40 hours, whatever it was, to do all that. So I really like that in this game, you don't. You can do the competitive battling, but I think it's just with friends. I don't think you can play against random people, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, with the whole candy thing, you can make and I think you kind of have to in the post game when you're fighting the Pokemon Masters. Like there's a Caterpie Master who's going to have like a level 70 plus Caterpie. And so you need to have a Caterpie at whatever level that is strong enough to beat that one to be a Caterpie Master. And with the candy and the way that you can just pump stats into any Pokemon that you want, any stats that you want, you can kind of make this super unbeatable team, and that's really cool. Like, that's something we haven't really seen before. So I like that they did something new with that, even if it takes away from the competitive battling scene.
And that's also a thing that I like with the catching as well, is that I think that the overworld, seeing the Pokemon in the overworld, makes grinding less cumbersome, because you have more power and agency when you grind. Because, like, you could be like, oh, like, I'm going to deal with this Pokemon. It also does remove the element of, like, oh, like, what if I happen upon one that is, like, against the type of my first Pokemon, and then I have to switch them, or whatever, because you're just dealing with catching them instead. Like, that entire process is so smooth, which is makes for a better gameplay loop for me.
Well, I think part of the candy, too, was to incentivize
murdering your Pokemon?
Additional catching.
Sending them to Professor Oak.
Where do we get the candy? Where does the candy come from?
It's a gift from Professor Oak.
That's right.
But where does he get the candy?
I don't know. Have you ever met an old person? They always have candy.
But where do those old people get the candy?
They get it at the Werther's original store. I don't know.
No. Here's how they get the candy. They take your 15th Pidgey, and they grind that Pidgey up into candy.
I don't even know if it's worse, but maybe it's just the Pokemon. It's their shit. Like they eat and they shit out candy. And then so Professor Oak collects that and he sends you Pokemon shit and it's candy and then you feed it back to them and it makes them stronger.
That's real tough candy. You just put into your Metapod.
Well, I mean, this is all meant for mobile users too, because in Pokemon Go, that's what you did. You would send the.
But what does he do with the candy when you send the Pokemon to him? What does he do with them?
That might be a whole other podcast, Neal.
That should be a spin-off.
Yeah.
Hey, the Pokemon Tower needs to refill its spirits. What do you want?
Yeah. You take a Joy-Con and you just like tilt it like it's a fishing rod.
Or a mortar and pestle.
Or you take the Joy-Con and you take your palm on the joystick and you just spin it.
Yeah. It's like Mario Party, but you kill Pokemon.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's not bring back the spinning the joysticks like Mario Party.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, part of that too is the TMs. Like in the original game, you use a TM once, and that was it.
I think Sun and Moon also had that.
It's from Gen 5, which is a very good generation.
Jesus, is really that's how long TMs have been.
Yeah, Gen 5 was perfect.
Is that Black and White?
Yeah, and Black and White 2, which were also perfect.
And the removal of HMs from taking up a slot of your
that
whatever
was Sun and
poor
Moon
Pokemon had to
was
sacrifice.
When that was introduced. Mm-hmm. But I think I like the way that they do it in Let's Go more than I like the way that they do it in Sun and Moon's just like, now you can ride a Lapras.
Well, I appreciate the nicely designed logo that goes along with.
Yeah, they look like little badges. They were cool.
Like when you're in the menu.
I think
I also like how your partner Pokemon's just like, yo, screw you, human. I'm learning this.
Yeah, I think it's really odd. First, I think it's hilarious that they used to be called hidden moves, and now they're called secret techniques, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're meant for humans only, and they go out of their way. They're like, oh, these are for humans. Only humans can learn these. No one but humans can learn these. And then Pikachu is like, oh, I want to learn the HMs. And they're like, what? Your Pikachu wants to learn them? And they make like a big deal out of it. And it doesn't make any sense to me because where in the Pokemon world, where else have humans ever learned moves?
You tell that to Ryan Reynolds.
I mean,
we might find out next year in the Detective Pikachu movie.
Yeah. He's so lonely.
He only wants a friend.
So going back to Neal, you're talking about how the Pokemon kind of pop up in the grass and you see them. It's nice. You're not walking around in grass for 30 seconds, 60 seconds waiting for a random battle to happen. You see the Pokemon and you go after it. So if it's one you don't have, you run into it and you capture it. Or if you're trying to form a combo, you keep going for that one. Imagine, I don't know, it'd be really difficult to implement, or I don't know how it would work, but if they try to do that chain combo thing where you're catching like 30 Pidgeys and if random battles, that'd be insane, right? Like it would take forever.
Yeah.
You'd have to run from so many battles. You still have to run a little bit in case you in Let's Go.
Well, actually,
yeah, they do that.
It would always be impossible because if you accidentally, I believe the combo breaks even if you like get into like if just like, and that's something that's frustrating is that the combo breaks when you just have like a random encounter with another Pokemon.
No, it doesn't.
I think if you run, it preserves.
Okay, if you run, you okay.
Yeah, so you're never kind of locked out of it. The only thing that I think is annoying when it breaks is when the Pokemon runs. Like if you're doing a Chansey combo and you get to 9, and then the 10th one runs from your battle before you catch it, and some of them run really early in the fight, and it's frustrating.
No, I saw a guy online recommending running after the first ball. I don't think they run before the first ball, so you just if it breaks out, you just gotta run.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, but if it's one that doesn't pop up that often, like Chansey, for example, that's really annoying.
No, I think if you run, I think they pop up again, like, shortly after.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've thrown a ball or not, but other ones do.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is one thing that kind of annoyed me about the game, is I find the catching of Pokemon, especially some of the rare ones, it's a little bit, the RNG or whatever the percentage is to catch them, it's a little bit too low. I wish it were a little bit easier to catch them and form those chains. It's easy when you're catching like the earlier ones at really low level, but when you're talking about the ones that are like level 50 and above or level 40 and above, and you're trying to form a chain, and you're just going through Ultra Balls, like I'm throwing a golden raspberry and I hit an excellent throw with an Ultra Ball, and I do that twice in a battle and it still doesn't work. Like that's annoying. Like a golden raspberry and an excellent throw, that should be a guaranteed catch, or like 90% or something like that. I don't know.
Humorously, I think that the RNG in the free-to-play mobile game might be more lenient than the RNG in the $60 video game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That is funny, right? Like I love how everything's so streamlined, but that one element of the catching is really annoying. I feel like the RNG is just a little bit too unfair in terms of the late game catching.
And touching on that, I never found a good way to either farm berries or money. Money, I mean, you just go through the Elite Four again, which is like so boring. But in all Pokemon games other than the originals, like including Fire Red and Leaf Green, there was a way to rebattle trainers. But here I didn't see any other way to make money.
What do you need money for?
For Pokeballs.
You fight the Elite Four over and over again. I think it's one way. I think if you do the chain combos, you can get berries as the items. One place I was farming a lot of berries actually was Cerulean Cave, which is very late. That's where Mewtwo is. But on the floor just above where you find Mewtwo, there's an area with a lot of rare Pokemon, and if you kind of there's like little puddles on the ground, or they look like little stars or something like that. But anyways, there's a lot of items laying on the ground in this area. So if you pick up a bunch of items and then kind of go down one of the ladders and come back up, it seems to kind of refresh it. So I ended up picking up a ton of berries, just kind of walking around that area and just kind of... I know you can look for Pikachu or Eevee's tail, moving, but I was just jamming A and picking up a ton of stuff.
Oh, I had so much trouble seeing Pikachu's tail wag.
Yeah, me too. It's hard to see, especially in hand. Like I was playing only in handheld mode. That's why I kind of ignored it. I was just tapping A all the time.
The three of you guys all have the Pikachu edition, right?
No, I'm Eevee.
Okay. I just find it funny the discussion of the catching, because like I've never experienced any of the issues that people like. I know like you guys aren't the only ones. I've read online that the same thing, like the Pokemon are running away and it's taking like 10 Pokeballs. I don't know what's going on, but I've never had any of those issues. I think of the like 200 or 300 Pokemon I've caught, maybe 2 ran away, and the most Pokeballs I ever used, I think maybe were 4, and that was on...
That's insane. That's insane.
And that
to
was
me.
on the... And it was funny because the hardest Pokemon to catch were the ones that I brought from my own Pokemon Go account.
Oh yeah, those ones are hard. They run all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those are the only ones that gave me trouble. Every other Pokemon in the game was nothing. Like it just... I threw it, it caught, it was easy peasy. I was actually to the point where it's like, it's almost becoming redundant, because it's just, I throw once, maybe he doesn't get caught, throw the second time, boom.
My luck was so bad. I one of the sleeping Snorlaxes on one of the routes. I threw like 15 Pokeballs at him, and he ended up running away. Oh. I didn't even know he could run away. I thought like, oh, this is a special encounter. He's not going to run away. He did run away. I found him. I don't know if it was him. I found a Snorlax later. I'm like, okay, and then sure enough, the second time I find him in the wild, one Pokeball, and I get him, right? Like obviously, but yeah,
it's probably it was that original Snorlax just being like, well, I guess you found me now.
No, I got the first one. It was the second one that I didn't that I couldn't get. 15 Pokeballs, 15 Ultra Balls to get a number of greats, a couple of excellents. I still couldn't catch him. Yeah, I've had a lot of trouble with the catching. Well, I just wish it were a little easier.
Have any of you tried two-handed catching?
What?
I have heard of this myth.
Yeah.
Are you talking about playing with a co-op? Like playing with a co-op?
Yeah, when you were a sad person who's trying to review co-op by yourself, then you just hold the Joy-Con in each hand, and you catch a lot more things that way.
Yeah, I've read about that too.
Yeah, I did that.
I've heard my kids doing it in the car.
So am I the only person that has the Pokeball Plus?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
The Pokeball Plus is very representative of the entire game, and that is the dumbest controller, but I also really like it a whole lot. It's very clumsy. It feels nice to hold in your hand. It also has like a ring support, so like in addition to a wrist strap, there is also a ring that you put around a finger to like keep it in place, I guess.
I'm sorry.
So, Neal, are you saying you can wear this as a ring?
Is it your bling? Do you go to the club with your Pokeball?
Yeah. Go with the Pokeball.
Well, he doesn't want to
hanging
be
from a
throwing his
finger.
balls around.
Ah.
I definitely almost threw my Joy-Con at the TV quite a few
Jesus,
times. Kids, wear your wrist straps.
Yeah. So the feel of the ball is nice.
Go on.
Grown-ups, all of us.
But so there is an analog stick that there is a button that you have to click on the analog stick. That is the A button, is the one that's clicked on the analog stick, which has led, because of pressing that in, sometimes you press it in and you might go up in menu. I have picked the wrong move many times. So the other thing is there's that's the button on the Pokeball. That's the analog stick, and you click that in. There's also a top button on the top of the ball. That's the B button, and the Y button you shake, which sounds ridiculous, but in practice actually works pretty well. It became after I kind of realized how the 3 points of interaction with the Pokeball Plus, it was very easy to move around menus in the game really without any kind of issue. And then throwing Pokeballs is just way more fun and engaging that way. Although stupidly you can never turn off the sound of the Pokeball Plus. So when you're playing in game, say if you're playing in handheld mode, and you have the kickstand out, and maybe you're watching TV, and you want to play with the Pokeball, that Pokeball is still going to make loud volume noises, whether you like it or not. So then I just played normal handheld mode, which is totally acceptable. But then the other elements of the Pokeball Plus is that you can bring a Pokemon with you in the Pokeball Plus. And you can by pressing buttons, you can play with it and stuff. And if you walk with it in your pocket, it will grow up levels.
Wait, does it fit in your pocket?
Yeah, it's a small. It's not to scale.
Yeah, it's smaller than Adam. It's smaller than you would think than it might look like. I held it at PAX West as well, and it was super tiny in my hands. I was wow, surprisingly.
Is it Joy-Con small then?
Smaller than that, I would say.
Yeah,
I'm trying to, because it's definitely smaller than a baseball. I'm trying to think bigger than a golf ball, but not by much.
Yeah, it's close.
That's kind of I'm trying to think of a good spherical comparison.
It's like those. If you remember those big bouncy balls,
is it a choking hazard?
The bigger size one.
So since I have an infant, that I was I'm just gonna let him play with the Pokeball Plus. By definition, it is, but I think that's more because of the little ring support as well as the wrist strap than it is the ball itself. I don't think my son could choke on the Pokeball itself.
Okay, but could an adult?
I mean, probably.
Okay, so that gives me a good.
If you tried
size.
really hard, if you really wanted to.
Well, some of us really want to die. Okay, so.
Yeah.
So you can bring a Pokemon with you, in which you can walk around with them. And I went on a very nice long 4-mile walk. Went for a walk around a park with the fam. Had a Bulbasaur in my pocket that periodically would just make noise while I was on the walk, being play with me, and then I'd have to shake the Pokeball, and then it'd be okay, cool. So on that 4-mile walk, my Bulbasaur went up 8 levels and evolved into an Ivysaur,
Nice.
which was kind of awesome.
So it actually evolved, because I know.
No. So when you return it back to the game, then it'll be went up these levels, and then it'll take you through the level progression where if they learn new moves or they evolve, they will do it back in the game.
Right. So it's not like the daycare center where you drop something off and it doesn't evolve.
Yeah, all the leveling up, basically it gains experience points, and then when you go back into the game, the experience points are applied.
Oh my god!
Right, okay.
I left something in the daycare center so long ago.
Oh no!
What was
so
it?
did I.
It's level 99 now.
Yeah, I left my Nidoran there.
Yeah, I left a Venonat there. I left it there at the beginning of the game, and then played 25 hours. I went to check on it maybe an hour or two of game time before. It only gained 28 levels, so it's not a ton, right? One XP per step, and if you beat the whole game and stuff, it's not that much, unfortunately.
Yeah. So So the Pokeball Plus, you can do that. And I've been starting to do that where like I think I had like my Abra early on came with me for a walk and then like went up a couple levels. It seems like because you can kind of interact with the Pokemon, in which like it can be like a normal play, a positive play. They can call out to you. You can mute the sound of the Pokeball Plus when you're in this mode, just not when you're playing the game on the console.
Okay.
And then the last thing that you can do with the Pokeball Plus is you can basically use it as a Pokemon Go Plus. The one difference with that, with the normal Pokemon Go Plus, is that the Pokeball Plus automatically spins Pokestops.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my.
Other than that, that's because usually when I'm out and about, I have a Pokemon in my Pokeball if I have my Pokeball with me. So I haven't tested the Pokemon Go stuff too much, but the little bit that I did, it seemed like it automatically triggered a Pokestop, which was really nice. And
I think Adam left the podcast to go and buy one of those right now, so he doesn't have to spin the Pokestops anymore.
Neal, what is the battery life like on that? I heard it's not great, and on the regular Plus, it's supposed to be like 40 hours before you have to change the battery.
I haven't had any issues with it yet, but
do you charge it?
I haven't charged it since like the second day that I had it, and I've been using it like every day.
Oh, okay. Shit.
And like it comes with a charging cable, USB. It's a USB-C. So that goes in with if you're a part of the Switch and Pixel 2 life where all your things charge with USB-C. Pretty easy to charge a Pokeball Plus. I think that $50 for that is probably a little high, but I think it's a really cool little thing that is kind of dumb and silly, but also gratifying to use.
Cool.
I'm curious what the price on them will be in the resale market. Like
I'm also curious if this will live on in any other Pokemon games.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
If it is a kind of thing, I think I'd recommend it a lot higher if it was like, this will be able to be used in Gen 8. Like, but if it's just a one-off with this game, then like, no, like, don't buy it.
I gotta believe that Gen 8, they won't do that, right? Like, Gen 8, it's gonna be back to regular catching in the game. I don't think it's gonna be all this motion control stuff, because, right, that's one thing they're getting a lot of pushback for Let's Go in terms of the fact that you basically have to use motion controls, right, if you're playing on a TV.
Yeah.
And in handheld, like, there is motion control, you don't need it, but it's certainly one of the main ways to play the game, right? It's not... There's been problems in terms of accessibility, right? Not everyone can play this game. So I'm sure with Gen 8, motion controls won't be mandatory,
confirmed,
right?
though, I don't think.
What's that?
I don't think I wouldn't expect to see like a traditional Pokemon for Gen 8. Like, is there not a decent chance that we're going to see a motion controlled, Gen 8 catching system? Like,
but wasn't that the whole
I don't
reason
think
that
they've
they
said either
announced
way.
both of them at the same time, right? You were going to have one for casual players to get them into the fold, and then the Gen 8 for the hardcore players. I can't imagine them splitting the difference again. I mean, maybe this game does really well, and they integrate the motion controls somehow in Gen 8. But I'm really expecting a much more straightforward, traditional Pokemon experience next year. If it does indeed come next year. Adam, do you think Gen 8's going to have motion control capture like Let's Go does?
Oh my god. I
thought you would like that one.
I think it might.
Do you think it'll be forced like this one? Like it'll be mandatory? Or it'll be maybe more options?
I think we might have wild battles again. One thing that I thought was missing from this game was wild battles. I think I battled like 6 wild Pokemon throughout the entire game or something. And I just would have liked... Like, sometimes Pokemon will make a beeline for you, and then they'll just stand in front of you and be like, okay, capture me now. And I do wish that those Pokemon would initiate a battle. You know what I mean?
So maybe more of the Pokemon that pop out of the grass are aggressive or start a battle with you, just like the legendaries do, or Snorlax, for example.
Yeah, just a couple aggressive Pokemon, I think, would be neat. I think in Gen 8...
Yeah, that'd be cool. I agree.
We might have that, or we might have all wild battles, but I do think that they'll be on the overworld again. But for the catch game, I think if you go to Pokeball, I think they might have you throw it, but I don't think it'll be as involved as this. I don't know that it would be. Or it might just be an exact port of this ball throwing mode, just tacked into the item menu.
It's going to be interesting, whatever it is, because there's always been like this iteration from like something's always added. So I don't think Gen 8 is going to look too much like Pokemon Let's Go in the sense that like this is too far back to the past.
I can see them taking some of the quality of life, right? Like the box is always with you. Every reusable TMs, maybe the secret techniques. It's the same kind of thing, right? I don't know about candies to boost Pokemon because Gen 8's got to be competitive, right? They're not gonna go away from that again. So I can't see there being candies to boost stats. I don't know. I'm really torn. I don't see the Pokemon Ball actually physically throwing that in Gen 8. Maybe it's an option. Maybe it's a mini game. Oh, here, your Pokemon Gold Plus from last year that you bought, you can use it in these mini games in Gen 8, something like that. There's some integration maybe, but yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Maybe it depends on the success of Let's Go.
I don't think you'll be able to carry your box around, though. I think that kind of breaks the game. And something I wanted to say...
I really like it, but I don't disagree.
I don't like it because Nurse Joy she talks so much in every Pokemon game. And at one point, I realized that when you put Pokemon in the PC, they're fully healed. It wasn't in Gen 1, but eventually. So in recent Pokemon games, every time I want to heal, I go to the PC, I turn it on, and I very quickly throw all my Pokemon in the box and withdraw them all back out. And it's actually faster than sitting through Nurse Joy's text.
I've learned that recently. I didn't even know that. I read that the other day. Like,
with the stylus, you just boom, 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 and you're healed.
Yeah, true.
No more stylus.
That's right.
Oh, I have to use
Is there even going to be touch controls for the PC?
I don't know. Maybe, I'm done. I'm not just with Pokemon, video games, podcast, journalism, just all of it, man.
All right, Adam. Nice to talk to you tonight. It's a shame that you're never coming back.
Oh gosh, I shouldn't drink.
Oh man, Adam, why do you think the mobile Pokemon box breaks the game?
Because you can change your team at any time. So one of the big things missing from this game was just the tension. Like whenever you get in a wild battle in a traditional Pokemon game, it at the very least takes one of your PP, one of your power points. From one of your Pokemon. It might chip away at your HP, take some of your moves, use some of your items. It just picks away at you until you are weakened, and maybe you make it through to the other end. But if you can just change out your Pokemon at any time...
That's only relevant in a dungeon, though. Like, whether it's only relevant if you're in, like, a Mount Moon or a... Like, I don't even know if it's even relevant then, because... Like, for me, if I got to the certain point where now, okay, I'm, like, getting beat down and my Pokemon are tired, I'm running out of PP, I just head back to the nearest Poke Center.
But then you have to start over. You made a little bit of progress.
But you're not really starting over because
you don't have to fight the same trainers again. Like, you've knocked out those trainers.
But you have all those wild encounters again.
So my counterpoint to that is I've played pretty much every Pokemon entry. Granted, I will say I'm not, the most hardest of the hardcore. I usually play the game to the Elite Four, maybe screw them with the post game a little bit and move on. I feel like I have worried about the PP of my Pokemon's move, like maybe once or twice per game.
I don't know. It hit me a lot when I first went through like Rock Tunnel as a child. It was just that tension, that learning how to manage my items, manage my Pokemon. Like, Pokemon taught me like a lot of like life skills that I don't think I would also say here.
Things like Rock Tunnel and like Mount Moon, and I've been thinking about this because of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 20th anniversary. Kokiri Forest is another one. Things that when I was younger seemed way bigger than they are now. Like, I remember, like, Mount Moon and Rock Tunnel feeling like labyrinths, and going through them again now, I'm like, oh, that was it? Okay.
Well, you don't have the wild battles in this. Every, like, 4 or 5 steps, you would get into a battle. You'd make a little bit of progress, and then you might have to retreat, and you had to make that call as a little 7, 8, 9-year-old kid.
But I feel like the wild battles, like, slow down the pace of the game.
Rock Tunnel has a ton of trainers to battle as well. Like, I think they've definitely compensated in that dungeon for not having the random encounters, the wild battles. You fight a ton of trainers. Like, it's a slog to get through that one. Like, if you're fighting all of them.
See, my thing with that is I got some Geodude chains going on in Rock Tunnel, and that was really fun. Like, Rock Tunnel was great. I welcome more dungeons in this game like Rock Tunnel.
I know there was a lot there where I feel like it had more trainers this time. I feel like they were making a concerted effort to make that dungeon difficult, knowing that, it's long, but the length of the dungeon doesn't matter when there's no random encounters. So to take out the random encounters, add these extra trainer battles. Like, actually, there are a lot of... I know you're talking about tension, Adam. I had a lot of tension in this game, actually. For most of the middle part of the game, I thought I was under-leveled. I was under-leveled. I had to, like, do a lot of stalling strategies and, capture a bunch of Pokemon, like, do some quick grinding just to get through. Yeah, like, normally I find, like, I've got this super team, I'm just kind of steamrolling through everybody. But in this game, that wasn't the case. I don't know what it was about. Maybe I didn't pick up the special moves for Pikachu, or I just I had a shitty team or something like that. But I was always struggling with type coverage, and I probably just wasn't capturing enough Pokemon because I wasn't getting the experience from that. So that's probably what happened to me. But I did end up experiencing that tension, so it was kind of nice to experience challenging parts of a Pokemon game that I'm very familiar with. I know it very well. I still got some difficulty out of it.
Did you get Zippy Zap?
I did get Zippy Zap, but I didn't get the water one or the air one.
I did not get the water one.
A little bit after.
But I Zippy Zapped my way through this entire game.
Eevee's powers, Eevee's different moves, the wonderfully named Batty Bad and, like, Sizzly... Oh God, I forgot what some of the other bouncy bubble.
I think mine is Freezy Frost.
That's so good.
I mean, Batty Bad is still like the Eevee. Stupidest of the stupid. Yeah. I did see something interesting that for people complaining about the difficulty, just take your partner Pokemon out of your party, and it makes it a not like vastly difficult game, but it definitely ups the ante a little bit. Because the partner Pokemon are so incredibly overpowered, it's almost comical.
But this,
I never thought. I
struggled with the difficulty myself. Like I just felt like I'm strolling through this with really no challenge. But then when I think about it, it's like, well, like they're trying to market a game to 6-year-olds and a 36-year-old. Like, what's easy for me is extremely hard for a kid. So the balance of the difficulty, like, it's hard to criticize them for it because they can't make it hard for me because then kids aren't going to play.
But I think you're being patronizing to children.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you an example. So my kids, like, they play. My son and daughter play together when we go for car rides, and they came up to the first Jesse and James battle, but they were wholly unprepared for it, and they got slaughtered and started crying.
Well, maybe they should get thicker skin, David.
Yeah. So it's like that's where so it took me like about 3 seconds to I'll do this and this, and they're like, oh okay, that was easy, not move on. Because, explain to them, like, go get pull out your Geodude, do a dig, boom, 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 it's done. But kids who haven't experienced it before and maybe haven't quite learned, like early in the game, a lot of kids probably aren't aware of, what types are more effective against others, which ones you should lead with, the strategy behind it.
See, this is where I think this is kind of at odds with Adam's similar but different complaint of how so much of this game is kind of hand-holdy, but like in the process loses some of the magic of how it was in 1998. And, like, once again, going back to how that game was in 1998, Red and Blue, I have a lot of fond memories of, like, kind of puzzling out the type differences. Either looking probably online back in 98, I guess. I probably, like, went to the library and looked up and...
You fool! There was one in the box. There was a type chart in the box.
Yes, that's right, in the instructions.
Yeah, there was. Okay, yeah, so there's a type chart there. But it's also in-game. They give you, like... and a lot of those are intact. Like, I remember the text used in the original that are still used here. They explain so much of the game in those different towns and houses. And if we look at Pokemon as an intro to RPGs, that is an intro to RPGs, by getting you to interact with NPCs to get more information about how to, tackle a boss or more efficiently do different things. And I do like it just depends on how hand-holding we want a game to be, or how piss easy we want a game to be to appeal to children.
Well, and it's tough because like we're 7 generations through Pokemon, so we're playing the original Pokemon and saying, "Oh, it's holding my hand too much. It's holding my hand."
Yeah, like games.
Exactly. Like we've played this before. Like of course, to us, this is easy. This is that they do all these unnecessary things that you don't need to tell me this and that, and it's like. Well, that's because we've played 7 generations of it.
Yeah, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm getting up to Celadon. That's the grass trainer. I'll start getting ready some, fire Pokemon to be able to, like, just make mincemeat out of that.
You didn't just use Zippy Zap?
I had an Eevee. And yes, I did just use, like, Sizzly Spike or whatever the hell Eevee has. But I used my Charmeleon because he's almost a Charizard now. When I was playing that game for the first time, I would go to Celadon and be like, oh, it's a grass trainer, and then like have to figure out like maybe I had picked Squirtle as my starter or whatever. Then I'd have to find a fire Pokemon, maybe train up that fire Pokemon, get it ready to fight there. Whereas I have all this existing knowledge of the structure of this game, so I'm kind of like thinking chess moves ahead. Of like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to Lavender Town now. I should get a Pokemon ready to knock out the ghosts, or like after that I have the Psychic Gym and stuff like that. And that's why I do think that for people like us who have a strong familiarity with this game is really easy in spots. But I think that it's a little unfair to completely ding it for that, because if we were approaching this with somewhat fresher eyes, like this game is seemingly appealing to, considering that the marketing focused a lot more on the ties to go and not the ties to yellow. I get it that like this is the difficulty if you view it as a game for people experiencing Kanto for the first time. The difficulty is a little on the easier side if you are familiar with Kanto.
When I was 8 years old, and my rival came up to me in Professor Oak's lab to challenge me to a battle. The battle screen flashed, battle started, and I started mashing A as fast as I could because I did not know what an RPG was. I thought that I had to punch him or something. And then do you know what I did after that?
You punched?
I went to Brock, and I beat his Onix with a Kakuna using Struggle. And now, look at all of the Pokemon knowledge that I have accumulated over time. And that is how I started my Pokemon journey. Not knowing what an RPG was, and then using a Kakuna in a gym battle. And I don't know, that's just like a really important memory to me. And I didn't see anything all that memorable in this experience. Like, little things that I remember are just gone. Like, the drunk old man is now Team Rocket. But, like, the drunk old man, we all remember the drunk old man. Like, he should have been there to be...
I legitimately don't remember the drunk old man.
The drunk old man from the Missing Note glitch? He teaches you how to catch your first Pokemon?
Yeah, I remember
that. Okay, yeah. I didn't view him as drunk.
Oh, he was drunk. But yeah, he's gone. Now he's Team Rocket.
Yeah, but Team Rocket is more like kids now maybe haven't played a Pokemon, but they've seen the anime. Like my daughter, who is 5, when she saw Jesse and James, she went nuts. She was like, "Oh, Jesse and James! Oh, I want to see them."
That's so cute.
Like, I understand their inclusion, but I also hate that they have the same shitty 2 Pokemon through the whole game. Because every time I ran into them, I was like, "Oh, it's just these 2 Pokemon again." Like in the Sylph Tower, instead of fighting Blue right before you get to Giovanni, which was like a huge, epic moment that I will remember for the rest of my life, and then you get the Lapras and stuff, like, that was so cool to me. I was like, wow, I am a badass. I just beat him, and now I'm going to go fight Giovanni. Instead, your friend shows up and is like, "Oh, hey, I hope you're doing all right. Like, go on ahead without me." He doesn't battle you, and then you fight Jesse and James. And it's just, oh, okay, we'll just hit them each with a zippy zap. We'll go on our way. Which I guess is true to the anime. They get hit by zippy zap a lot. But it was just, it again lost that tension, which made it, which is what made it so memorable to me in the first place. Sorry guys, I've been drinking.
Adam, wasn't it tense because you were 8 years old and it was your first RPG? Like, that tension comes from that, right? That
you played a bajillion Pokemon games.
How can there be tension now when this is like your 20th Pokemon game and it's the 5th time we've seen Kanto, right? Like,
I'm not talking about me.
I think you're
I'm
longing for your
about,
childhood.
I want other children to experience my childhood, and I don't see that happening with this game.
Are you going to force your child to like play Game Boy games?
I mean, they will probably play a couple of Game Boy Advance games.
But I think I think it's granted it's a hard spot for us all to judge. I guess except for David, who has children who are close to this. How old's your oldest, David?
So my son is turning 8 in a few months, and my daughter just turned 6.
Okay. Yeah, so like David does have anecdotal evidence to kind of like actually give us informed opinions on what kids that were close to or closer to at least Adam's and mine and Adam's age when we first played Pokemon. Because I would have been 10. Adam, what you were 8, 6, I think.
I was 8. I was not 6, Neal. Okay. Gosh, I'm not some sort of child anymore.
I don't remember. You know why I got confused with that? Because you know what, man? I have been drinking as well. David just said that his kids were aged 8 and 6.
Neal, provide everyone's age that works at NWR now.
I thought you were going to say his children.
David is 54.
Well, to give context for them, like so they both watched the anime. I think that's probably where their first. I'm not really sure. It's either Pokemon Go or the anime was their first experience with Pokemon.
It wasn't Nintendo Power? What kind of children are you raising?
No. So, yeah, so all of their knowledge comes from those two sources leading into this. Now, they did play Pokemon Coliseum.
That's so random.
Why?
Yeah,
poor kids.
So when they started enjoying Pokemon Go and the anime, I introduced them to my Nintendo 64, and they absolutely love Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh, it's Pokemon Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium. Coliseum
or Stadium.
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 Game's right.
Yeah. And then I also introduced my son to the Pokemon trading card game, which he is a pro at now.
Oh, heck yeah. Does he play online?
If I let him touch my iPad,
does he want to get stomped?
Probably not. He's not good at losing.
Neither am I.
And yeah, and like as a game, like as a purely Pokemon game, this really is their first go at on their own, like on their own in a real true Pokemon game. And like right now, their highlights are catching the Pokemon, like Pokemon Go style, meeting up with Jesse and James. Like those are the highlights for them right now. And they do, like, I know that they're finding it challenging because like when the majority of their playtime is in the car, I hear it. I hear the frustration in their voices.
Is it like a negative struggle or is it a positive struggle? Because I think that what Adam's kind of referring to, and what I do kind of agree with, playing this game initially back in the day versus playing it now, is that there was a positive struggle with learning the rules of Pokemon and learning how to manipulate those systems, even if they're a lot more exploitable in Let's Go than they were in Red and Blue. But there were still ways to exploit that. So is it a positive struggle or is it a negative one?
It's a positive struggle when they understand how to proceed. Like the worst experience they had was when Jesse and James absolutely murdered them. But when I explained to them, like, I even gave my son I printed off the sheet for him, and he keeps it in the car now. And I said, like,
that's adorable.
I love that so much, David. That's awesome.
They're poison types. And he's like, okay. So he looks on his chart and he's like, okay, we need these Pokemon now. And when he gets into a battle that he loses, or when he sees it, where he gets to a battle and he's like wondering, like, I hear him pull out this piece of paper from like next to him, and he's reading, like, okay, we need this and we need this,
which I did too when I was playing this game.
So there,
yeah.
So
I would Google being like, crap, I forget this typing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So I mean, for them, like. So far, it's been a good experience for them. Now, are they going to find... And it's funny because I've actually had arguments, or not arguments, debates with Neal about this sort of thing with old games myself. Like, I think a lot of it's Final Fantasy based, where it's like the experiences I had aren't going to be recreated in my kids. Like, I can't, I've made them play Final Fantasy on NES. They're not getting that same experience that I felt. And so, when you had that experience of fighting Blue, back in the day, and how great it was, that was like 3-4 generations, or a couple of generations of kids ago. Like, our kids aren't growing up the same way that we grew up.
Uh-huh.
When I grew up, it was, if there was a bully, you fought him. That's not what we teach our kids to do now. Like, we literally teach our kids to befriend like, if someone's bullying you at school,
yeah,
like, my dad would be like, go punch him out. That's how I grew up. That's not.
You're shattering my views of Canadians being friendly.
Yeah. So
we are friendly now, Neal. Yeah.
We're secretly all about violence.
Yeah. Well, I can name off a bunch of times I fought a kid because he was pissing me off. But, like, kids don't do that now. Like, they're told not to. It's go to the teacher, everyone be friendly, we all hold hands, kumbaya, all that stuff. It's fine. It's probably for the best.
No, I'm not.
But that's just kind of, like, that's just where I'm coming in with the, like, we can look at the game and say, oh, well, they took away the good experiences. But it's like, well, we're adults. We don't know what the experiences are now. Like, they're going to get something else from the game that we didn't get.
I mean,
like, if we're looking at, like, parenting theory with that, like, I'm just of the belief, as I'm looking at my 5-month-old, that, like, I want to see whatever he gets into, because that's really cool to me. I will totally share with him being like, oh, I love the crap out of Super Mario RPG when I was younger, and he'll probably be like, this is old and boring, Dad.
It is.
I'm going to play Minecraft. Yeah, I mean, like, you're not wrong, Adam. Like, I love Super Mario RPG, but I recognize that to the modern eye, it is old and busted. However, Chrono Trigger is not. That game is unimpeachable. Go and listen to the Thirsty Mage about Chrono Trigger. Plug.
Great episode.
But yeah, I mean, like, it is hard to, like, demand those similar experiences, kind of, be timeless, because I think, like, even just the introduction of Pokemon Go is a completely different, way more mainstream introduction of Pokemon. Whereas in 1998, there was just a lot of confusion from parents about what the hell this weird Japanese thing was. And now Pokemon Go is just like, that's what people do.
Look, I'm not saying, like, anything about, like, how you're raising your kids or anything. What I'm saying is that so many of the moments that I remember just in general, like when I think about Pokemon Red, the things that I remember aren't in this game. And I don't know what kids will remember from this game. So what I'm saying is all the impactful moments, all the big things are sort of subdued by the rival trainer showing up and befriending you. And I don't know, it's so different from everything that I loved about the game that I don't know what's left.
I'm almost, since none of us are children, I'm almost curious to see like what will we take away from this game in like a year or two. Will there be memorable things that I kind of keep with me from this game? Will I even remember using the Pokeball Plus in 2 years? I barely remember using the Pokewalker, although granted that was a lot longer ago. But
so something that I find memorable, and I think it's kind of just as I think it's been as memorable in every Pokemon game. Maybe it feels a little bit different with this one. Is this successfully catching a Pokemon, especially the rare ones. Like when you've been walking around, you're waiting for like a Scyther to appear, or you're fighting Articuno for the first time, or Snorlax, and you have to throw a bunch of Pokeballs. It's really hard, and you're waiting. Oh, am I going to get him? Is he going to run away? What's going to happen? Like I think that's that moment of successfully catching something that you've put a lot of time into, or that you're really looking forward to get. I think it really nails that moment. It does feel like you're still accomplishing something great when you capture some of these Pokemon. Even when you capture, basic Pokemon, if you're trying to form a chain, the feeling of successfully catching is done quite well here. Like I'm still, that's something that is carrying over from my memories of Pokemon Blue. I never played Yellow, not until it came on 3DS Virtual Console. But yeah, that feeling of, okay, it shakes once, shakes twice. Oh, is it gonna, is that third shake gonna happen? And then did I finally get it? Like I feel like that is something I'm gonna remember from this game, because it does that. I think they really nailed that aspect, and it feels just as good as it has ever felt. Maybe even better, because you're kind of choosing. You see the Pokemon in the overworld and you choose to engage it. There's nothing random about it, right? You go in there, you throw berries at it. If you're using the motion controls, you have to physically throw the ball. If you're playing handheld, I played the whole game in handheld. You're moving the screen around, or you're moving the joystick to look around. The catching feels much more engaging. Almost no matter which way you're playing it. So because of that, when you successfully get the Pokemon, when the Pokeball stops shaking or stops rumbling, and you've successfully got it, I think that's really gratifying. Like I think they did a really good job with that element. I was surprised by that. Like I wasn't thinking that the capturing and the acquiring all the Pokemon was going to be my favorite part of the game. It probably is. Like I really enjoyed forming the chains, finally seeing the rare Pokemon show up. And then eventually getting it. That I think that's a really good part of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I remember, like, my most tense moment was the first Snorlax playing the Poke Flute, and I don't know if I missed the explanation or not, but when I saw the counting down, and I'm like, what the hell is that for?
Yeah, I was surprised by
that
too.
Panicking, like, does this mean at the end of 4 minutes the Snorlax is leaving and I'm going to be empty-handed? So that was the most stress-inducing moment for me in Let's Go, was I want this Snorlax. He ain't leaving at the end of the 4-minute timer or whatever it was, or 5 minutes.
See, is that what happens? Did anyone have the timer run out? Did they actually just run away?
I don't know.
I wasn't leaving it to chance, though.
I got really close with my Mewtwo fight, but
the first time I noticed the counter was Zapdos. And I was like, oh no, it's a counter. And then one zippy zap took him all the way down, and it was over.
Yeah.
But Mewtwo, I was really surprised, because I breezed through the game, and then I was like, is that it? Like, Red didn't show up or anything. Like, where is everyone? So then I went through the Elite Four again, and then nothing changed. Like, the Elite Four...
You gotta find the Pokemon, or the Master Trainers, man.
I don't care about those. You don't get anything from them.
Well, then...
You get...
You get the satisfaction.
What do you get out of any post-game?
Should we
Pokemon,
have the post-game spoiler discussion here? Like maybe make a note on the podcast that like we're gonna get into heavy spoilers in the post-game now.
There is no spoilers. There's no post-game. So my Mewtwo fight.
But there is a post. But like,
I want to talk about Mewtwo.
I'm not someone. I'm just confused. But when you derogatively say that there's no post-game when there is a post-game, it's just not a post-game that you like.
No, a post-game is like a side quest or some sort of like extra story, something else that happens. But this is just like a victory lap slash grind fest, which is like a battle tower. Which
isn't that the whole fucking post game of the entire series?
No, like in Black and White, you go and you track down the rest of the like organization. In the Red and Blue remakes, you go to like another like a whole other island and go explore. Like, there was nothing added here. which was kind of a big bummer to me.
I mean, the master trainers, there's 153 of them.
And
I think the master trainers were meant for adults too, because that's where the real challenge is, right?
I mean,
they are really hard. They are really tough.
The Pikachu one went down in a single zippy zap.
No, the Pikachu one's easy. Some of them are really hard.
It is remiss to also not refer to the legendary Pokemons and Mewtwo as post game.
Mewtwo's the only one. The other
I
ones,
took all the birds to the Elite Four.
Okay.
The birds are part of the critical path, except for Zapdos.
You can't get Mewtwo until the post game, but you can get the legendary birds before it. Yeah, they do kind of direct you to it. I guess the power plant's not really on the way, but the other locations, Seafoam and Victory Road, obviously are. So, yeah, I mean, I've been spending a lot of time with the post game the last couple days in trying to complete my Pokedex. That's kind of part of my post game. But Adam's right. There isn't really a story component to the post game. There are battle challenges you can do that require you to develop strategies or get a ton of candies or do a ton of grinding to buy all the TMs, get your Pokemon strong enough to fight the Master Trainers. You can fight. We're in spoiler territory here, so you go back to the Viridian City gym where Giovanni was, and this is given away when you fight him. Blue shows up and he says, "Oh, I'm going to be the gym leader here." So you go there and you fight Blue. In going to get Mewtwo in the Cerulean Cave, you fight Green. So those are two kind of special battles that you fight.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is
Green.
Neat.
I never thought she'd show up in the games.
Yeah, so it was neat.
But you were just saying that there was no post game, Adam. So don't you believe that Green doesn't exist?
No, listen. Okay, so the post game, you go to Mewtwo, which Mewtwo surprised me because after I did all that stuff that I was talking about, Mewtwo one-shotted.
But there was no post game, so how are we having this conversation?
Neal. You're drunk. Mewtwo one-shotted my entire team.
Yeah, he's
and I was
so
like,
strong.
holy shit, what is
I thought
this?
This game was really easy.
It was, and then this battle happened, and then that's why I left that other review. And then Charizard held on. He dodged twice, and he held on with 1 HP the third time because he loved me. And I was like, Charizard, your move pool sucks. You're a shitty Pokemon. But
isn't that the tension you want, Adam? Your Pokemon loving you and holding on with 1 HP?
Yeah, so
you didn't get that in the original Pokemon.
You just had to wait to the very end. That's all.
One battle. One battle. But also, it wasn't
that happened to me all the time. You cured poison, woke up because of it. Like,
I do.
a critical attack.
Yeah, it's just like Eevee woke up because he loves you. Like
he didn't want you to worry, so Neal.
Yeah,
it was so good. I love those
happens.
moments.
That's fine.
Yeah, I do. That is one element of this game that we haven't touched on, which is the fact that the stuff with the partner Pokemon and having your Pokemon out of the Pokeball as well is just such a really nice way to emphasize the legitimate partnership between you and your Pokemon.
Yeah, it's not just an aesthetic, right? It's not just Pikachu on your shoulder, Eevee on your shoulder, or someone trailing behind you pointing out items and stuff like that.
It has gameplay benefits. It's really adorable.
My favorite part of this entire game is when I would use Zippy Zap and Pikachu would just one-hit KO yet another Pokemon. Then the trainer would yell "Great job, Pika P! I knew you could do it." And he would look over his shoulder "Shut the fuck up! Are you serious? Of course I did it. It's Zippy Zap." But just the way he would turn his head so slowly, just a little bit really?
Yeah, I do like the blank look that the Pokemons give you when you do say things.
Yeah.
Adam, I think you would have enjoyed this game more if you didn't use the same move in every battle.
Would I have?
Maybe you need to try some new Pokemon, different moves.
I don't know. They handed me a perfect Pikachu and they said, "Go play this Pikachu game."
Yeah.
That is I still think if granted, if you're listening to this, we're in the post spoiler stuff.
Yes. Spoil away.
If you were playing this game for the first time and you're worried about it being too easy, just don't use your partner Pokemon.
Yeah.
Take it out.
Oh yeah, let's talk about how shitty the Gen 1 Pokemon were. So I couldn't find Abra. Every time I saw an Abra, it would disappear and run away.
Oh,
I got a
caught
Kadabra
before I
got an Abra.
So I never got.
I caught 5 Abra in a 3-minute stretch.
Yeah, I just didn't see him.
And
just transfer one from Go.
I did eventually.
No, that's cheating. That's
I
cheating.
guess it's not
David.
cheating because so my team was the 4 starters, Dragonite. My brother-in-law gave me a Dratini so that he could get Meltan, and then Meltan, which we have to talk about, that little piece of shit.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You want to talk about him now? I think we should talk about all the other Pokemon first.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess he's in the last spot in the Pokédex.
There are no other Pokemon in this game. Which is like, maybe I'm just over it. Like when I see Hypno, I
think there's 151 Pokemon.
Thank you, Neil.
But Vaporeon is a very good Pokemon, Adam.
Are you complaining about the Gen 1 Pokemon? Like, the whole point of this game to
yes,
go over a classic?
Like, what were they going to do?
A classic!
No, like in newer
games. They
games.
should have added Adam's favorite Pokemon from the other gens into this game.
I have. My team in other games is like a Scyther, a Dragonite, a Charizard, a Venusaur, and who the fuck knows? 2 other Pokemon that I don't like.
I think
you just named all the Pokemon that are available.
Yes, but they don't have my moves, man. Like they had no moves. The
move
Venusaur
pools are weird.
Has 3 grass attacks and like Sludge Bomb or something. My Dragonite has 4 dragon attacks. Like, what is going on? There's only like 60 TMs. Most of them don't deal damage.
Have you been getting the TMs from the trainer captains?
Oh, I fought every single trainer in the game. Except for Red, who's a secret that I don't know about because I didn't Google it.
Yeah, I can tell you about Red. You have to beat 6 master trainers for him to show up. And the master trainers are fucking really difficult. Yes, the partner one is going to be easy because your partner is buffed to shit. But the other ones are really hard. The Charizard one took me like 30 tries. It was so hard.
But were you a Mega Charizard? Can you be Mega Charizard?
Yeah, you can be Mega. It doesn't matter. The Master Trainer one has crazy stats. I used my Mega Transformation. I put all these speed candies in. I could not go first. There was no way to go first. I don't know how those Pokemon are so strong. He was like 2 levels above me. And he had
really
all these stats
excited to try these.
Some of them are really fucking hard. The only way I was able to win is by stalling them.
Charizard has a really powerful rock move in my Gen 6 team. What is it? Is it like Rock Smash or Rock Slide?
Rock Slide.
Can he learn that?
It doesn't matter. No, they just use Thunder Punch. They use the one he one hit KOs me with Thunder Punch, and I'm basically the same level. It was insane.
Have you tried like?
I gave my Charizard Dig.
Or what if he loved you more?
Yeah, he doesn't love me very much. I caught him as a Charizard. You can't. Yeah, but you can't use either of those against another Charizard, so it doesn't matter.
Well, what you caught him?
No, fair enough.
I caught a Charizard as a Charizard.
Well, why don't you use the one you start with? The one they give you is perfect.
Yeah, but I'm not going to raise him from like level 20 to 70. The one I caught was like level 60.
Are you the one who said that you were doing like a Chansey chain?
Yeah,
chain all these Pokemon.
Yeah, I was, but the Chanseys kept running away from me because I couldn't catch them as well. Like it took me like 10 Ultra Balls per Chansey. That is if they didn't run away after the second one. I was trying to do Chansey chains, but
I feel like Chansey chains
just very quick. I want to
a
hit on something here, just because I caught the Charizard, and this is an awesome part of this game. So after you beat the game, I think it's after you beat the game, you have the ability to fly on your Pokemon, like actually fly and fly across the screen with them. So it's only 3 Pokemon that can do this: Charizard, Aerodactyl, and Dragonite. So if you have one of those Pokemon, you can fly in the sky and you can encounter Pokemon not in grass areas. You can just encounter them in the air. So when I was trying to catch a Scyther on Route 15, I saw a big shadow. And I'm like, oh, that's not a Pidgey or a Pidgeotto shadow. I've seen those before. This is a huge shadow. And I realized, oh, it's a fucking Charizard. So I pick up my Aerodactyl. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. Hop on top of the Aerodactyl, fly into the air. I see a Charizard flying there, and I go and encounter him, and I catch that Charizard. That is insane to me. Cool. It's really cool. There's Dragonites that pop up, too. That's how I caught a Dragonite. Same thing. Just get on my flying Pokemon and run into the Dragonite and have a battle like that. Like that is something to me that was a holy shit moment that you didn't have those kind of moments in Red, Blue, and Yellow. That couldn't happen back then. But in this one, it can. With the partner Pokemon. So
can I curl up with this game and go to bed? Like, can we wrap this up? Because now this just sounds like warm and fuzzy, and I want to play more of it.
Okay, let's talk about Meltan. Yeah. So I thought it would be so cute to put Meltan on my team. I'm a big Go player. It was one of the first things I did was race to the Go place and get a Meltan. and I put him on my team, and I raised him through the entire game. And then I was going to the Elite Four, and I was like, does this guy evolve? So I Googled it. He doesn't evolve in Let's Go. You have to evolve him in Pokemon Go before you transfer him over. And he needs 400 candies. Which, and you have to wait a week. So to get Meltan, you have to transfer a Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Let's Go. And then you get this magic box in Go that you open it up. It's like an incense where for 30 minutes, Meltan will show up. So I did that. I was at my family's house. We were hanging out. So I just had my plus. I plussed a couple of them. And then I went to do it again, and it said I had to wait an entire week. So I was like, well, shit.
Waiting a week is annoying as hell.
These are all the Meltan that I have, whatever. So I transferred one in, raised it up. It was in my team. And I talked about it in my review. I was so mad that from then on, every time I needed to turn around and he was behind me, I deliberately, stepped on him. Like, you little shit. Like, why are you taking a spot in my party?
Are his stats decent?
No, he's awful. I don't think he got a single attack out. Like, he died right away every time. He's bad. And he has no moves. And I don't know why he has all these electric moves in a game where you start with a really good Pikachu.
Well, I guess if you had started with Eevee, maybe.
Well, so let me just get this straight. You're complaining about a Pokemon that shouldn't be in the game because it wasn't in the original anyway.
I'm also upset that he's a Steel-type Pokemon because we already have Magnemite, who is cool and evolves into Magnezone, which is one of the best Pokemon in the whole world.
Not in this game.
No, he's not in this game, but he's awesome, and I love him so much, and I use him often. There's no dark Pokemon in this game. You can trade for, a dark Grimer, but I thought that they would introduce, if they were going to introduce anything, introduce just one dark Pokemon, which they didn't do.
Yeah, the only way is just the Rattata, the Grimer. Is Alolan Golem dark rock? Or
no, he's electric rock. I think.
Electric rock.
Yeah, that's a funny type too. There's certainly dark moves like Crunch and Bite. I guess is dark as well, but there's no naturally dark Pokemon in the game. I guess in the original 150 there ever were.
There was none in the original.
Yeah.
No, but they went back and added in Steel and Fairy.
But there's none in the original.
No, but there's Steel and Fairy type Pokemon now. But there's no dark Pokemon here.
I don't even know who you could make dark that isn't. Like, which one,
Blastoise.
Maybe Gengar or something like that? Blastoise? Dark water?
Blastoise is the only starter who doesn't get a second type, and I thought it was really weird, because he gets a lot of dark moves. He gets Crunch. He uses Dark Pulse on my team. And
when he transforms to Mega, does he get a second type?
I think he's like Water or something. I don't think he ever does.
Okay.
But Bulbasaur is Poison type, Grass Poison, and Charizard, of course, is Flying or Dragon, depending on your Mega Evolution. And Blastoise is just water. I don't know. I think little things like that could have added a lot. Like if there was a dark Pokemon, if the move pool was a little stronger. Like most of my Pokemon just learned their type of move, stronger versions of their type of move. Like I feel like the moves they learned were really close to the original, which weren't very strong. And I don't know. I had a lot of trouble building a team.
I mean, you're right, Adam. It is one way that they stuck really close to Pokemon Yellow and maybe could have taken more risks. I think that's definitely something that could have improved the game. Take what was great about it, which they did, but then maybe add a few things that fill in some of those gaps that end up occurring just by following the original too closely. They could have added, change some different types, or maybe add another special Pokemon or something like that. I don't know. Overall, I think the game is really satisfying. It seems to be selling well. I know the first 3 days of Japan sales have been really pretty promising. I think there was about a 12% attach rate. They sold about 200,000 Switch units in Japan as well. I think the game itself is about around 660,000, which is pretty decent. So we'll see what kind of legs it has. But the game seems to be doing well. We've still got another one coming in the not too distant future. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty damn good.
I mean, even though I am unsatisfied with the game, I am still excited both for Gen 8 and Let's Go follow-up. I think
do you think they're going to do Let's Go Johto? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think do a remake of Crystal.
I think they probably will. I kind of wish that they wouldn't. I do wish that they would introduce something new I feel like if they stick to as closely to Crystal as they did here to Yellow, it just won't be very exciting to old fans. And if you're just appealing to new fans, like, why even go back to one of the originals?
Yeah.
My thing with Crystal is Crystal was never remade.
Yeah.
I guess Yellow never was remade either, but Yellow I think is just more fresh in my mind in general. Crystal isn't. They do kind of. I think I did see something that there is some kind of reference to Crystal. I mean, there's also a reference to Sun and Moon with the Mina that you run into after the SSAM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was so random.
I think there's like some weird canon where like this Pokemon Let's Go is 10 years before the events of Sun and Moon.
What's the reference to
really?
Crystal, Neal? I don't think I see it. I didn't think I read anything about that.
I believe I saw a screenshot of something about saying like, oh, I guess I'll fight you again in 3 years.
Okay, cool.
And I think there's a couple other things, because isn't Koga in the Elite Four in Gold and Silver and Crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his daughter.
I think Koga supposedly makes some comment about like, man, I'd like to join the Elite Four.
See, that was another bummer for me, is like Brock and Lorelei, and I think maybe Misty once, like, just showed up out in the world, and it got me all pumped, like, oh yeah, like the Elite Four is going to show up, like Lance is going to show up again, try and fight Team Rocket, like, it's going to be so awesome. But then it was just Blue and David showing up all the time after that, like, oh well, I guess we'll do the next thing in the story. And
Misty takes you to the Diglet cave.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think didn't she did that in Pokemon Yellow? I think.
Mm-hmm. I think you might be right about that.
Like I'm pretty sure that Lorelei does not show up like she does in this in Pokemon Yellow, but my memory could be playing tricks on me. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But I think that, like, I mean, if we're looking about this being, you know, representative of the experience that we had when we were kids, part of it was that you were the kid saving the day. If you make it where, I mean, I guess in this case you are controlling the Pikachu or the Eevee that is saving the day. Like, if you make it where you're fighting Team Rocket and it's like, oh, the Elite Four is coming to save the day, then it kind of ruins a big part of this game, which I mean, it's why they have the silly Stand By Me reference in the beginning of the game. It's because this is about kids, you know, growing up and solving their own problems and not relying on adults. But
this felt like you were relying on David and Blue a lot. Which, yeah, that was something that I said I was going to talk about earlier, but I didn't. At the end of the game, spoilers, David says, like, oh, I always felt like I was looking after you and taking care of you because you were like my neighbor, but turns out you didn't need it all along. And I was like, thank you. Like, yeah, I did not need you to carry me through this game. It would have been more impactful had I actually accomplished these things on my own.
Well, again,
okay, then you can play. You should play an RPG where you just don't talk to any NPCs and you have no recurring characters.
I think that's Fallout 76.
No, I wish if with the changes that they made, I wish they would have made stronger changes. You know, they made just little changes that just kind of irked me. Like, I wish, I don't know, like if the Elite Four was going to show up a little bit, like why don't they show up more? Like, why not expand?
Was it just Lorelei who shows up at one time?
It was just Lorelei the one time. Like, I don't understand why they didn't expand the story and make it bigger and maybe add a little something after. Like, you beat the Elite Four and then Giovanni comes back and is like, oh, I can't believe you defeated me. Like, it is nice when you beat him in the gym, but...
Yeah. Because if they did that, then another group of assholes would be talking about how it wasn't faithful to the original.
But it's already not faithful. I wish they would have made it its own thing, instead of just barely straying, just trying to, like, see how far they could get away before someone yelled at them.
But I don't know if their intention was to get that far away anyway, because I think at the end of the day, what the target audience is they want to take the 200 million mobile users and say, play this game that started everything, and maybe you'll love it like all these other people who are now 7 generations in did.
Yeah, so who cares what liberties they take? If they can make
because
it
worked
a better
before,
game.
Why, if if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Then why did they change it at all?
Because there had to be some modernization. There had to be some modernization.
But I think that
I could sit here and sing the praises of Final Fantasy on NES and say everyone should play it, but then really Final Fantasy Origins is the better experience.
Yeah, give me that Donna Soul.
For those keeping track at home, I think that's 3 Final Fantasy on NES references on the podcast so far.
No, but I think it's a really relevant point.
It is
to this
yeah.
because it is the same thing where it is a game that was a stone cold classic when it first came out, and there is a remake that changes a lot, and it's debated I think it's a lot less debated for Final Fantasy that the later remake makes it a more palatable game.
And that's where I think these small changes are. Like, this is a 2018 game. They took a late 90s classic and they've adapted it for a 2018 audience. And that audience is the 200 million, 300 million that have been playing Pokemon Go that Nintendo is hoping they all buy a Switch.
I'll agree with Adam. I do wish there were more side quest stuff and more like characterization or world building where characters you meet initially come back and they maybe play a greater role in your story, as opposed to just Blue and your rival, and those are the 2 people, and that you just kind of deal with them. I've always wanted more side quests in Pokemon. They've never really delivered. It was always like, show me this Pokemon, I'll give you $1,000, or trade me this Pokemon, I'll give you this one. I wish there were more tangential stuff, or extra stuff that you didn't have to do, maybe this side quests or side stories, stuff like that. I wish that was there, but at the same time that might be too much or too complicating for this remake of a very old original game, where they were just trying to capture the nostalgia for some people and then make a simple game for people that are playing on mobile.
Like I think that's where I kind of land on Let's Go, is that like I wish it could be greater, but I'm okay with it as it is, and it's I guess maybe there's some modified version of the Sonic cycle for the Pokemon cycle, in which everybody's like, don't worry, the next gen will fix it. But I think that Gen 8, which should be coming next year, Gen 8 could be really, really cool. Like, we're probably going to learn about that early next year.
I am very excited for Gen 8.
Well, I think this is a natural place to end. Almost 2-hour review that turned into kind of a retrospective over the game. So
I have so much more to say.
Yeah.
It's late, man.
I know. I have to go. I haven't even scored my review yet.
So by the time you're hearing this, I'm assuming that both Adam and my reviews will be up on the site. So make sure to head over to Nintendo World Report to check out both of those. We'll also have coverage on Nintendo World Report TV on YouTube if you wanted to check out the content there as well. And as always, if you want to contact us, you can track us down at nintendoworldreport.com. You can also send me an email at david@thethirstymage.com. And I don't know if anybody has anything else to add in as we wrap it up.
If we added anything else, David, I think it's going to be a second episode of this, or another. It's going to be part 2. Like there's still so much to talk about. So
my big problem with this game is, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna
stay tuned for part 2.
I am totally down for doing a follow up to this, because it's a fun conversation. We might be going a little bit in circles because I think we're all kind of set in our ways with it, but I think it's fun.
We could even revisit it before the next game comes out. Like a year later, or what do we think about this game now that we've seen Gen 8?
Yeah. Revisit it after Gen 8 is revealed.
And we could preview Gen 8 and then kind of retrospective on Pokemon Let's Go, right? Even if we've seen how they've integrated some of the stuff that happened here too. That'd be cool. We could even talk about what the sales of this game are. For
so
sure.
Far, so good. I think.
It looks good right now.
The install base of
Pokemon.
The install. Well, people are probably going to jump down its throat because the install base of the Switch is a lot lower than the install base of the DS and the 3DS were when Pokemon games came out. But I think for for releasing on the Switch that has a 20 plus million install base compared to I want to say the 3DS had like 40 million.
Yeah, it
when
might have been.
X and Y came out.
Yeah.
It's doing fine. But we'll see how long of a tail that is. It'll be interesting to see because Nintendo's success for this fiscal year depends on it.
Yeah, for sure. This is Smash.
Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you gentlemen for devoting a few hours of your time in the wee hours of the night to discuss Pokemon.
Yeah, thanks for having us,
anytime.
David.
This was a
Thank
treat.
you. Yeah.
That'll be great. And maybe after we've all put in a little more time and beaten all 153.
Oh my god.
I'm never playing
Don't even
this
joke
game
about
again.
that.
And with that, I'll say goodnight.
All right.
All right. Good
Bye.
night.
Goodbye.